All right. You bastards. You swine. How are you? 9 o'clock on a Friday. I try to deliver. Sometimes 10 o'clock. Who can say? Though I do give warning. Doesn't make a difference. It's only 9 or 10 for me. There's almost nobody listening in my country. That's the tricky part. For most of you, it's what, 3 or 4 or 5 or something? What can be done? This is the only time frame I have. And yes, I want to talk a bit about Christmas. Because why not? Because why not? My dog is going crazy in the garden. That's okay. The outside light just came on, and I'm all illuminated. You can hear him prancing back and forth. Dilly dee, dilly dee. My dog, incidentally, is turned out surprisingly new dog to be no doubt part greyhound. Where when he was bought, he was a little lurcher and he was quite small. Now he's grown into it seems to be the size of a fucking baby elephant, and it's amazing. It's I can't say it's not slightly a hassle, but it's funny. Pretty much every day I look at the massive, muscly creature. Very elegant, beautiful, beautiful creature. Apparently, greyhounds go back to like ancient Egypt or something, don't they? I know I've puzzled that on here before. I never actually looked it up. I really should look that shit up. Well, yes, I want to talk about Christmas, relating to an article I published years ago about Saturnalia. And it came up again in my old website. I had an old website for Aureus Press when I first started and named it Aureus Press. I used to publish articles on ancient statecraft and crazy stuff. Me and Jason Lupus would come up with these ideas, these traditional type society type ideas. We're talking about magic or pulp fiction, horror, whatever, stuff I would generally carry on about, let's say, but often would come back to how we should be living under more ancient methods of human organization. So I had all these articles on it. And at the time I was doing web hosting for all these other websites, and I had this huge production of a server, and it was costing me all this money. And I shut it down eventually because I wasn't doing that anymore. And so that site was lost. I saved all the articles though, and meaning to immediately put it back up somewhere else, but I did not get around to it until very recently, really. And so now there's a new website, and I republished. That's the only article on there yet of the old ones, is that Saturnalia one, because it is the season, as it were. And somebody was asking me about it on Telegram, I think, and just about how the origins of the season, let's say. And it is quite fascinating just how far back it goes, and the things and parts of it that are actually have proven themselves important and come back genealogically through time. It's not necessarily what you think. It would have been the things you thought were just superfluous and incidental, but no. Things like eating nuts or putting the lights on a tree. Very, very ancient practices. But yes, there's the new Aureus Press website, because I had little placeholder websites for ages, and I kind of put them together in Wix or one of these things. But they'd be kind of rubbishy and just really didn't have the time to focus on it. I don't know if any of you remember when I started the little cult website, Temple of Zeus Ammon, which I shut down when things got really hairy and severely censored on the internet. I felt it was wise at the time to close it down, even though it was doing well. Also, I needed help. It was proving so popular. I needed admin help with it, and I wasn't getting it. I couldn't keep up. I had to shut it down. So it was working. But I like to add a little bit of that into the new website. So eventually, when you subscribe as members on the site, you're actually in a little secret chat area where you'll be part of an actual kind of cult, bona fide cult activity, if you want to join a cult and get little duties and tasks and things. I mean, if that sounds good to you, then that will go on there eventually soon. At least I can have it all in one place, so that I don't have like website over here, website over there, because it's too much. Everything's too much. I do all this fucking work myself. Like, no, I know exactly. Like Guts, I wrote all the stories, but I didn't buy Guts, by the way. It's out. I'm going to be pushing this every stream until March when the next one comes out. Actually, no. Between now and then, Dream God 2 will be out. I'll be peddling that one, and that should be good. I published all the chapters in it through InAegeon as serials, but I put it all together now, and I'm seeing like it just needs stuff added to it to really join them up properly, and to fill in certain details and blanks. So I'm like, it's all those plus kind of more meat and potatoes, put it all together into a proper start and finish story. So that'll be coming out. But as well as that, maybe in March as well as Guts number 2, you will see a Pagan Space Imperialism magazine. I'm hoping. Partway's done. It's got a cover, more or less. It's got a couple of the articles. It's got the layout, more or less kind of the design idea of the thing. And I've got someone on board to help. A proper Platonist girl. Very, very smart. Bit of an alchemist as well in some ways. But anyways, all that will be coming out. And after that, I will be putting out probably... I really have to seriously get finished with my 2 nonfiction books that I halfway started and did not yet finish. It really has to be done. One on religion, one on like the links between paganism. Very much the topic I'm going to talk about tonight. Christianity and paganism. I was saying calling it. What was I going to call it? Pagan and Christian or something. I can't remember. Something like that. It was tempting to call it pagan versus Christian, but that just sounds stupid. And it's not really about that. It's more about looking at both sort of objectively, being forgivingly, let's say. But yeah, that's what's going on with the Aureus Press stuff. How did I get on talking about that? I mean, it's good. I should do that kind of shit more, self-plugging nonsense. But talking about the website. Oh, yeah, so the new website came up, and so I put this article. Yeah, so this article was originally on the old website, so it's really quite old. But it was a good one. It was actually the first one I wrote on that one, too. So it must be many years old, really, since it was done. And it's just all about how old the tradition truly is. And it is unspeakably old, going back into ancient tradition of, like, we're talking oral tradition, like, Neolithic people, people hunting mammoths, perhaps, for all I know, because it's very, very old. And its little hallmarks are very funny. And I'll get into some of them now. You should read the article in Aureus Press. I linked it in the thing in the description. So if you want all the details, you can look at them there. I'm only going to go for like half an hour here or something like that, 40 minutes. But yes, it's most interesting, most fascinating little thing. So I took the little bullet points from the end of it that really outlaid all the most, anyways, of the funny elements that we find recurring, at least mostly through study of Saturnalia. Again, I tend to look to the Roman stuff very often. My fellow pagans more often seem to go to Norse paganism, or everyone wants to go to the tradition associated with their own people. I've never quite seen it that way, only for, the Irish tradition does resonate with me, and I'm very interested in the fables, etc. But, whatever wisdom lore they had, it's still there. There's still some of it. There's still a good bit of it, even, you might say. And it does make sense for me to be, and I am partially in that world. But I can never deny the genius and the intricacy and the art of the Hellenistic stuff, and how much it's ever always spoken to me and seemed to me the origin of everything good in human activity, the true creativity, civilization, originality, introspection, and I was going to say extrospection. That should be a word. Observation or whatever. It all, so much of it is there. It's so inspiring to me that I always fall back on it, and I think, well, that seems to be, the ideal. And so I always reach for that. But then again, you have so much records. We don't have records of what the Druids here were doing at this time. I'm sure they had a Christmas thing of some kind, because all these things usually were, related all everywhere. Certainly, they absolutely had the solstice tradition, as we can see with Newgrange, which I think this just had the light chamber opening or whatever, which was built, this ancient Neolithic structure, older than the pyramids. It's completely designed so that on the winter solstice, the light hits the inside of the chamber of this of this building, and just shoots right in there. And that's how important it was to them that with whatever tools and means they had then, they built these giant monolithic stone things that we would be hard pressed to build ourselves today. And for that reason, to mark this date on the calendar. But yeah, so it's interesting. So there's a like ancient example. Oh, I should say too, someone was talking about how I'm going to make this about Turks or something because of the thumbnail on the video. No. That's my favorite few seconds from Conan the Barbarian. John Milius' Conan. And it's not the part that everyone else runs to, where Conan recites, what is it, Lament for the Women, or what Conan wants best in life? Kill your enemies, or crush your enemies, see them driven before you, hear the lamentations of the women, which is a real quote by Genghis Khan. That's why in this scene, this character on the thumbnail is there. He's meant to be the Khan, teaching Conan, I guess, right? So my favorite part of that scene is not like everybody else's when Conan says that. It's right before that, when the Khan's son, who I'm guessing is meant to be Kublai, who hilariously, I think, was like, he looks like a white guy with like little fake Oriental lids put on him. I could be wrong, but that just tickles me that even as late as 1980 or whenever the movie was made, there was still such a shortage of non-white people that you had to like take some white guy and put some makeup on him. But just the best part is when the Genghis Khan character goes wrong, wrong, when his son gives a little eloquent speech in praise of conquering and war, really talking about, falcons at your crest and all this. But just no. It was absolutely miserably wrong and fruity, because it wasn't just plain death and bloodshed. Absolute bottom line, wrong. That's the best part. He was outraged at what a sissy he was. Oh, just excellence, pure excellence. Anyways, that's the point of that. Just to say, those who think what they know Christmas is all about, they're wrong. Because everyone always claims that. Everyone of every epoch and every religion at the time, I'm sure. And certainly it is very, like when people are being gluttonous and falling down drunk and behaving like buffoons, it's a very Christian thing to say, well, that's not what the season is about. But they're wrong. That is absolutely what the season is about, and has been since before Jesus was involved in it, in the holiday. It is a very pagan occasion. I mean, this is really undoubtedly true and accepted by anybody who knows anything about it or history, I guess. But Santa, is an extremely pagan character. I think it was Varg I first heard say that he's Odin, meant to be Odin. And, the Yule tradition is entirely just, it's all about elves. And there's not much Christian stuff in it, apart from, you said you have your little manger scenes and the music, I guess, the songs. That's the Christian contribution. Excellent music, actually. Lovely songs. And yeah, that's the main Christian element in it, you would say. But and that's great. Good. Although some of them really, like, what's the one? Is it The First Noel? Beautiful song. I love it. But then it lands on the crescendo lyric is born as the king of Israel. And that always like stings me. It's like, oh, the hand of Johnny Foreigner entering my house. It's like Israel, king of Israel. What, what's that guy? I want to hear about Santa. But yeah. So let's look at my list a little bit, and we'll get into all that stuff. Okay, so this is just a rundown of the stuff I plucked out of what I'd already written about in the article. So, like, Saturnalia. So again, I call upon Rome because they have the best records of what they did. That's what I was going to say about the Druids, etc. Whatever we know or have, we just don't have the kind of preserved written records as we do of what went on in Rome. So Saturnalia was a festival of this time of year dedicated to Saturn, who, interestingly, and always said by me, is not the evil character associated with the Black Cube and certain other nefarious characters and people that is carried on. He was really historically. I mean, there's nasty stories about him eating his children and so forth. That's part of the and like horrible looking paintings of it and stuff. But generally speaking, he was a golden age harvest god, greatly celebrated, representing an absolute golden age of prosperity. And with his sickle, that's the harvest part of the reason he has a sickle. What we still see in the Father Time character that we see not in Christmas now, but associated with New Year's, the hooded figure with the sickle, as in Father Time. You see him in old timey depictions, anyways, of New Year's. That's Saturn, and arguably, as a bearded fellow, I don't think that's the origin of Santa. The other thing about Santa, it's so funny, these online arguments. There's the Saint Nick and these Christian figures where Christians will argue with you. No, it comes from this person and that person, but it was definitely around before that. Although it was more known as Father Christmas figure, and there was other versions of it. Even in the Saturnalia celebrations, you can see some of this kind of stuff. And whatever it was, I'm sure to the Scandinavians it was Odin, or it's hard to say. I remember Tom Roussel had a theory that was it Silenus. He thought he was the god who was Santa was derived from, or maybe originally. I mean, it's hard to say. Certainly there's elements of this Saint Nick thing in it as well, but really originally it was this Father Christmas character. It was just the jolly old guy that came around and brought good cheer. I had a point there that I lost. That's okay. Let's go to our list. So everything about Saturn. So if we look at Saturnalia, we can see the traditions that they didn't even know where they came from when they were celebrating them. They came from so far back. And again, this time of year was sacred, going back before we had written records, and it was purely oral tradition people. The Neolithic people, built these structures based around these times of year and stuff. And it's just undoubtedly, for whatever it is in us to celebrate and party at this time of year, going back before Christianity, before many other religions, probably. And it's just something that finds its way back in, no matter what we do. So it's as important to us as anything. Like even when we look at the potential downfall and the extermination of the West with us, that we face, I'm sure, I hope we will reverse that, get out of it. We will be forever changed in some way or other. But one of the things you think of is like somewhere in the back of your mind, you think, what about Christmas? who will continue Christmas then? It's something that's really in us, like going way back. And then, if you're a Christian, celebrate it as a Christian thing. I mean, I still love the music and I would still go to a mass or something. And, I have certain, obviously, various Christian trappings about it going on. Even like having the tree in the house. I was like, isn't that not such a pagan thing to do? And as we can see in the Roman times, even they put lights on trees and things. So let's start. Number one, this is all based on Saturnalia, basically. So one of the factors in the celebration, as they saw it, was an elected overseer, the princeps, which means prince, really in Latin, Yule Father / Lord of the Bean, who may also represent a sort of a Santa Claus figure. So this was a guy who became sort of Lord of the House. And more often than not, it was actually the lowest member of the household, a slave, would be elected sort of king of the house on the day. This was the thing in Rome at this time, Saturnalia. Role reversal was a huge part of it. So you'd see gladiator combats with women and like dwarves and things. And so all the roles were meant to be kind of reversed as part of the celebration. And the Lord would give put his crown on the slaves, and the slaves would get drunk and lord it over the house and tell everyone what to do for the one day, right? So it was this thing. And also in regards, really, our tradition with children, that's really where it comes from, where the children become prince for the day, which is beautiful, really. And that's what in the Christian sense, we see it as a family caring, giving thing, which it is, and that's part of it. But the origin of that was just to make them kings for a day and give them everything they want for one day, and they be their slaves for a day. The children became the princeps. So, I mean, that's interesting, isn't it? If you think like that part of it predates Christianity, predates Christian ideas of charity in a sense. It's something else a little bit. It is charitable. It is nice. But it's this role reversal thing. And whatever the origin of that is, I don't know that they knew that either. Along with that was definitely the spirit of revelry, drunkenness, getting out the street, carousing. There was a lot of door-to-door activity. You still see some of that. There's still some pagan activity. Say even here in Ireland, there's the day of the Wren or whatever, where people go singing door to door, and you knock on their doors, and if they don't give you a drink, you're supposed to give them the drink or something like that. It's just like, it's about getting people out of their houses to socialize and carouse and be drunk in the street is a big part of the holiday. Also was an idea in their minds that it must last for at least a week. Obviously now we have like 2 weeks, but the period of celebration must be at least a week. Because at one point in Rome, they tried to reduce it to 3 and 4 days, I think. It's in the article. I should look it up, but and then that was just soundly rejected. Like, nope, we will drink and carry on for a week. They had a solid week of it, anyways. So yeah, the reversal and the overseer, the lowest figure of the house, became the overseer. Number 2, there must be a light show over the duration of the holiday. Candles or stringed. In our case, we do stringed electric lights, but during Saturnalia, there was candles lit all over the place all the time, and even in trees and around in bushes and things, apparently. So there was an idea that things should be lit up and we should light candles, which is something we do, I guess. And even if you think about it, like even there's so many pagan stuff in Christmas. And even so many of the traditions, even like say Scrooge, a massive, Victorian era Dickens, you would think heavily Christian. But there's kind of a Christian charity message in it for sure. Like, are there no poorhouses, etc. But extremely pagan in its storytelling. There's ghosts and there's not a lot of religious. There's no kissing the feet of the cross or anything. It's all these there's a death-like character at the end. There's the Christmas present, really a Santa pagan Father Christmas guy, just outrageous. He's feasting, he's a big bearded guy. Really like an old-timey pagan Father Christmas figure. So that story itself is it's really much more pagan than Christian. Again, when these things were melded in the minds of our ancestors without too much bother. I know the really ardent Christians would always be like, paganism's evil, but I just think there's some, like in the online Christian community, there's a bit more fervent hysteria over that than there needs to be. I know, like in the ancient days, they definitely attacked and killed pagans and thought they were the devil and all this, but it's definitely a lot of room there for these two groups to try to get along a bit better. Christians must also admit that the period of advancement in Western civilization, till now, really began with the Renaissance and gathering steam ever since, until it's kind of halted now, I'm afraid. But it was all based on resurgence of pagan thought that came back through Florence, through the books that came in there, and the knowledge of these classic people, the same route by which I found my little tidbits about Saturnalia. So there's always an ancient pagan influence. In our current mythology, our current religion, they're never free from each other completely. I've already almost gone in half an hour, so I don't want to be too much longer. But anyways, for some of the season is too much and they cry humbug. You'd have to read my article for the details of that. But there was accounts. Was it Seneca or somebody? There was accounts of Roman writers complaining that it was too much, having to get the gifts and the endless celebration. There's people that get all humbuggy about it and hate it. It's just too much stress or something. They can't cope with what it's there, what it's for. And these people do not, I guess, have the ancestral blood memory. They didn't inherit the gene that tells you to get pants down drunk and fucking eat everything you can for at least a week at this time of year. Which is sad. That's a deeply, deeply sad thing to not have. It saddens me. I mean, Jesus Christ, I've already started, I really shouldn't have, but I did start eating, not drinking so much, but holy shit. The amount of cheese I consume this time of year is fucking ridiculous. Hold on a sec. Someone was talking about coming on the stream, and I just forgot about it. Let's see. Maybe it's too late. Oh, no. Didn't get back. It's okay. No, I'll just finish it off. It's fine. What was I saying? Shit. Oh, yeah. Eating cheese. Spreading soft cheese on a hard cheese, as it were. You know, you wake up in the morning and you just like eat a fistful of Pringles and like start drinking wine or whatever, you know, just fucking ridiculous. But it's excellent. Fucking excellent. So let's go down the list here. Decorating trees. That was part of Saturday. They decorated trees. They didn't bring them in the house. They decorated trees outside. I think they did. I don't think they brought them in the house. I'm pretty sure that's how it was. Again, I didn't actually even. I just copied and pasted the articles. I had it up for so long, and I skimmed it. But like, you know, I'd written it and reread it like so many times years ago. But I can't remember that part. I'm pretty sure they did not. The Romans did not bring trees in the house. Yeah, because that was started actually in the Victorian age by what's his name, Victoria's wife, the German guy, wasn't it? Oh no, was it? Or was it an old Scandinavian tradition? Was it a more ancient Scandinavian Yule thing to bring a tree in the house? Who knows in the chat? Someone tell me. I'm floundering on that one. Sorry. But yeah, so even in Roman times, you could hear the humbugs complaining. You know, the people that whine about. I've never understood the people that complain about it. Like, what the fuck is to complain about? Jesus Christ, have you no joy in your life? Like, just drop everything and just party for like a week. Even in like, you know, a naive in a family environment, the children become kings for the children becomes kings for a week or two, really, as well. It's not just the day now, which is great for them. I mean, this is why we all remember it so fondly. You get whatever they want, and it's just great. Oh, this is interesting too. Also to the Romans, certain plants are sacred to this time, including holly, mistletoe, oak. And that was not just the Romans, but most of them. Those. So that the tradition of those, holly and mistletoe and oak. Mistletoe was obviously sacred to the Druids, always. But I don't know if they used it for kissing people. But yes, that is also interesting, isn't it? So these little artifacts of the season that you think are incidental or of not importance compared to the, you know, religious celebration you're having, do in fact, for whatever reason, archetypally, symbolically, at least have much more ancient weight to them than the actual religious practice, which is funny, no? Oh, this is funny, yeah. Stockings, would you believe? Stockings. There was stockings, something about stockings. There were stockings put on the statue of Saturn at the Capitol Hill. There was something with stockings. Shit, I wish I'd like read really before I do this. You'd think I would just read the article, but I thought just getting the bullet points would be good, and in a way it is. But so something there's from the foot of Saturn himself, were these, for whatever reason, stockings were laid at the feet of the statue, and there was something, and so now we have them hung over the fire, awaiting gifts. But for whatever reason, there was an element of stockings. So, you know, I don't know why. They didn't know why, but that's part of it. Part of the ancient mystery. Gift giving. Romans were doing gift giving, so that's the ancient. That goes way back, and they didn't know why. That was, you know, that was an inherited tradition. Electing children as princes for the day. Yeah, I talked about that. Wassailing, caroling, and going to strangers' doors. So that one too. They did all that. That doesn't have a Christian origin or a recent origin. I talked about that with the Wren stuff, but yeah, that's part. Obviously, caroling. So that's very, very ancient. You went around just singing. You go to people's doors to sing to them, try to get them to come out, and you socialize with them. So, isn't that funny? And everybody was just having the time. So that's the Christmas spirit. You know, it's not. I know it's you would think all these warm feeling stuff would be associated with the, you know, Christian universalism, but no, that does predate it. It's not. These things came first. Again, not to say there's anything wrong with the Christian variation of them. Certainly, caroling now, you'll hear Christian songs. Although you hear these numpties now today, I don't know what modern liberal people, like even modern liberals, let's say, I'm pretty sure they have fun this time of year. They wear their silly sweaters and they let loose and they have the time. I'm sure, who can't enjoy it, but you do hear them trying to secularize it and saying happy holidays and this dumb shit. I don't know how many of them are truly humbug about it, see it as they should by all means, according to their philosophy, see it as an evil Western tradition to be stamped out. I don't know how many of them do. It's all about putting Baby Yoda in the nativity scene. John Gora says, yeah, they do. They would like to do that. I'm sure they'd use a shit like that. We should put Baby Saturn in the nativity scene. Then I'd be happy. How about that? Or a big grown-up Saturn. On the statue of Saturn on the Capitoline Hill apparently was hollow on the inside and filled with olive oil. And I read that, but it didn't get any reason as to why that was the case. But that was part of the celebration. Next on my list is gluttonous feasting and drunkenness. So that's great. I'm having a bit of wine as we speak. It's Friday. I have overeaten earlier on, so I'm feeling good. Relaxation of law and businesses close. This is also older than Christianity. Maybe older than the Roman religion. I'm sure, I don't know. It had to have been. So everything shuts down. Relaxation of law. There's a forgiveness for criminality, a spirit of forgiveness, a spirit to do with the reversal of roles, which is one part we've kind of lost in that we just don't see it that way. We see it as just being charitable. But there should be the judge should become the prisoner for the day and the prisoner the judge for one day. The gladiators become women and small people. And I don't know what the big guys did. Did they become prostitutes or I don't know what they did. Who knows? But there should be a role reversal. So we must pay attention to that. We must try to keep that one going. A time of truce and goodwill. That was the other thing in Rome in those times. It was a general idea that wars should cease and be put on hold and so forth for that week. Anyways. So that was part of it. As there's the famous Christmas truce of World War I and all that. I'm not sure we'd see such a chivalrous thing happening today for any reason. I mean, Jesus Christ. Trump would probably choose that week to, or not that he would decide that, but his boss would decide to use that week as a perfect time to strike. And didn't they even do that? Was it last Christmas or weren't they striking out at somebody? Oh, shit, I don't know. Pretty sure. I mean, anyways, I won't get into that. Must take place around the dates of the winter solstice. And refer to our star, the sun, which today we have replaced with the North Star. Yeah, right. So in the Christian sense, they made the star instead of because it's too pagan to worship the sun. I guess it is a solstice celebration, right? To do with sunlight originally. So they took that element and they made it all about the star that guided the shepherds. And so we still have the star, the symbology of the star, and all our nativity plays and things. You see the star, but it really should be the sun, and not the North Star. That's another interesting little bit. Dex Peril says days are getting longer now, not for replacing the turkey with a baby. What do you mean? The turkey? What? You're saying? What are you saying? Oh shit, I lost my little list. Hold on. Let's see here. Spirit of charity. There was a spirit of charity even then. Again, not just role reversal. There was a sort of overall spirit of charity and peace among men or whatever. So, you would think that would be really the Christian part of it, but it's not so much. That part of it was there already. Was that the idea? They had the idea of wearing colorful clothing, special tunics, and even little hats that were not a far cry from the little kind of elf hats that people might wear now. Would you believe? So the little conical hat thing is older than Christianity, and is a habit from ancient times. You would have thought that was like, it's funny, a lot of these things, because I think Christians would say, especially that is the commercial element. And whenever you try to replace Jesus with Santa as the hero of Christmas and all, and these other elements, people buying these little hats. But really, it's funny to know, just funny and incidental. I mean, there is an awful commercial element to the way we have it now today, but that the little funny elf hats and the elves. Anybody talking about elves is talking about pagan stuff, first of all. But just like the stupid sweaters and the little pointy hats go back to ancient Rome and beyond, perhaps. I mean, that's funny. That's like that's to be carrying that on, and we don't even know why. We just do it. Almost done this list now, and I'll probably wrap it up. Colorful clothing. I said that. Okay, so this is the last one. Yeah, and I said this already. The sickled figure of Father Time, who is also sort of the ghost of Christmas present. Or no, that's getting confused, because the Christmas present is more like the Yule Father. Is more like Odin, really. The sickled figure of Father Time is definitely a blatant Saturn reference, Saturnalia reference. The figure of alter ego of Father Christmas is somewhat unknown of origin. Definitely kind of a pagan thing, whoever it might be. Again, it could be Silenus. Again, it might be someone like Odin. It's hard to say. Like, we don't know these things for sure. But this mysterious old guy that appears and brings good cheer. But yeah, you can see that's the only really a blatant continuation of Saturnalia we have in our symbology is the New Year's Father Time character. And even then, you wouldn't see so much of him. But definitely in like New Year's, older New Year's stuff, you see a hooded figure with the sickle involved in that celebration. And so by having Christmas and New Year's, I guess we kind of divide up the solstice celebration into a two-parter thing, which would have been just the one thing, I guess. I assume. I don't know. In the very old times. But anyway, there you go. Like, there's my list. And that pretty much gives you an idea of the funny little things. I mean, there's even more. If you read the article in depth, there's much more detail than I could give there. Those were the main points that I thought were funny, that I repeated at the end of it. Is like, okay, just dwell on this for a minute. Part of that too was to eat nuts. The Romans nuts were in big favor at that time, and even today, it's like chestnuts roasting. I know that songwriter was dubious, but still, there is a thing about eating nuts at this time of year. I mean, I guess that's an obvious food during the winter. I guess you could say that, but still, nuts and pointy hats. It's got to be done. It's of incredible importance. So whenever you get some cocksucker saying, that's not what the season is all about, you go, wrong! As though he's the biggest fucking fruitcake in the world. He's Kublai Khan. He's not even fully Asian. I mean, maybe that actor was like half white or something, but he looks dubious. He looks like a guy with like little, I don't know, Mr. Spock makeup or something. Great scene though. And watch that scene again and just enjoy the part of the guy going, wrong! It's so good. He's so upset with him. He cocked it up so bad because he wasn't all about death and carnage. It's the most blatant bottom line right wing moment in movie history, probably. Hilarious. But anyways, that's off topic. No, I was not going to talk about the Turkic influence on Christmas, as someone said. No fucking chance. We got everything we need right here in the West. Just like my friend published an article recently. Absolutely true, too. I'm going to get her to write in the pagan space imperialism thing I was talking about that We got all these fruitcakes. Also, everyone wants to get mystical in the West. They look eastward. They become Buddhists, and they look into Vedic religion and stuff, and that's fine. But everything they need is in the older Western, the pre-Christian Western stuff. All the same kind of stuff, but in a way that makes more sense to us. It's all there. You don't have to go searching far and wide across the earth into these foreign things that have been kind of I was going to say corrupted, but changed by other types of people into something that suits them. You can find all that kind of mystic lore and inspirational stuff in full-on just Western historical things. You just got to read the old books. I should have linked her article in here. It wasn't even. Was it an article or just a post she made? Anyway, she's going to write more full-on articles about it. She's very smart. She's good. But that's off the topic, isn't it? So there you go. Be happy. Be of good cheer. Drink your face off. Harass your neighbors. Reverse those roles. And yeah, 2 weeks. 2 weeks of partying. So I'll do another one of these soon. Since I'll be off and everybody will be off for a little while. Maybe every few days I might try to harass you with one of these fucking things. Yes. Or maybe I'll be too drunk and too busy. And I won't do one for a while. I'm going to go on White Rabbit Radio or something after Christmas, 28th, I think. And I'll do one of those. But yeah, I'll try to keep up with doing this more often because I enjoy it. And why not? Why not, indeed? I've got something to say. For now, though, that's it. Goodbye, little ones. And remember, stay Christmassy. Yo, Saturnalia.